Chapter 17 Jumping Ship. On the Ghost's main display, the crew watches as Gom2 and the surviving children arrive in the Weirdlow 3 planetary system, each pushing an asteroid. To hide the asteroids from the enemy scanners, only the most massive behemoths have one, hiding it in their enormous shadows. You know, Will, if this doesn't go as planned, we're killing thousands of people, most of whom have nothing to do with this, Zephyr says in a low voice, not taking her gaze from the screen. The children are on a direct course for the enemy fleet, with the planet Weirdlow 3 directly behind them. Will nods. Yeah, I do, but it's the only way to take Weirdlow 3 off the board. Xarrix can't have a fleet. She's too dangerous. Just look at how effective the weaponized behemoths are. He shakes his head. Hell, look how effective the unarmed ones are. All right, this isn't over. Let's get back to it. Sin, locate and keep a target lock on the Berserker. Done. I'm reading fluctuations in the port disruptor, she reports. Will looks at the ceiling. Gabe, can you take a look at the port disruptor while you're there? I'm getting weird power flow readings. Of course. Captain, you have maneuvering. Please, no sudden moves until I am back inside. The disruptor should take only a few syntax. Excellent. Thanks, buddy. And you got it, but hurry up. We'll be in weapons range of the Berserker in just a few minutes, tops. On the screen, the children have released their rocky payloads. It took some explaining, but each child is equipped with some type of incredibly strong and prehensile docking cable. Using them to clutch the asteroids was Will's idea. After dropping the Ghost off, the children did their space jump trick to get to the outer asteroid belt of the Weirdlow system. Then they accelerated to their maximum sublight speed, several fractions of the speed of light. The released asteroids are moving at thousands of meters a second on a direct course to the regrouping flotilla of captured behemoths. Think Xarrix people even saw them? The rocks, I mean, Cynthia asks from the tactical station. Doubt it, Will offers. Those tow cable things they use kept the rocks really close, and only the largest of them have rocks. He points. The smaller ones are flying with the rocks, probably trying to hide them. The first of the asteroids impact the captured behemoths, smashing them to dust. The impacts are spectacular in their destructiveness. Rings of released energy expand as behemoths shatter into millions of pieces, those aboard dying instantly before they even have time to realize what is happening. Look, Zephyr points, as several of the children shimmer and vanish, only to appear behind the enemy fleet, deftly moving to capture stray asteroids that missed their intended targets. I guess that answers that. Impressive, she starts, then adds, Oh no, 2 got through. On the screen, 2 of the children are moving off, having missed their capture of the asteroids, which are now streaking through the atmosphere of Weirdlow 3. No time to worry, Will starts. We're being targeted, Zephyr shouts, breaking everyone out of their trances. Gabe, hold on, Will shouts as he moves the Ghost out of range of the incoming energy weapons. Gabe, get back in, done or not. There's no answer. Gabe? Buddy? Will looks over at Zephyr, who is furiously scanning the area. Will banks the ship again, dodging fire. The Berserker, slow as it is, has closed the gap. Gabe hears the telltale whine of the forward disruptor firing, followed by the clank of missiles moving into positions below. I have him, Zephyr shouts. Oh, Krolak, he's on his way to the Berserker with Maxim. The fright in her voice is enough to make Will look over at her. Bennie? Will starts. 1 second, the Braylac says, then, Okay, I was able to override his comms lockout. You're on. What the ever-loving hell are you 2 doing? Will demands. Sorry, Captain, I was going to call in. I was getting patched up in the medbay and I saw Gabe head out. I suited up in case he needed help. What about your arm? Will asks. The autodock finished and I grabbed an emergency splint. We were packing up when he just detached from the ship. He has flight capability, you don't, Zephyr growls. Well, yes. I didn't think that part through when I jumped after him, but thankfully Gabe came back to get me. Gabe chimes in. Captain, I am sorry, but I must put an end to the Duchess's treatment of droids. I thought killing her and Xarrix would accomplish that, Will says, bringing the ship around in a tight arc, trying to draw as much fire as he can, while not getting hit. The latter is not working so well. Sparks and small flames are erupting all over the bridge, and likely other parts of the ship. The destruction of the Berserker at the hands of the Ghost, as it were, is not a certainty, Gabe says, as calmly as if he was standing next to the bridge hatch. I don't fucking believe this. Gabe, is this the best time? The destruction of the Berserker is definitely impossible with you two dummies on it, Will says, as the ship rattles, taking several point defense rounds at close range. Maxim, you idiot. This is foolhardy, please, Zephyr begs. My love, I couldn't let Gabe do this on his own. The sadness in the ex-Peacekeeper's voice makes it clear that he is unsure this isn't a one-way trip. Come back to me, she says in a low voice. Always, he replies. The ghost rattles again, and something in the corridor explodes. Judge and jury. Okay, new plan, Will says. We help destroy her fleet, then we deal with the Duchess and her ship. His sarcasm at the title is unmistakable. Gabe, Max, you don't have long. The children are fired up and smashing anything that isn't the ghost. I don't know that they won't turn on the Berserker when that's all that's left, regardless of who's aboard, he warns. The ghost accelerates away from the massive warship, heading toward the one-sided fight beyond. The asteroids have thinned the captured behemoth's numbers, but there are still plenty remaining. At least half have weapons mounted on their hulls, ranging from blaster cannons and disruptors to missile batteries. Those with weapons are decimating their unarmed fellows. Fire everything we've got. If it isn't broadcasting the IFF signal we agreed on with the children, blow it away, Will says, glancing at Cynthia, her face lined with determination as she hunches over her console. The sound of the ghost's weapons firing echoes through the ship. The airlock on the Berserker opens with a hiss. That was surprisingly easy, Maxim observes, stepping out into the corridor. You doubted my sensors? Gabe asks, stepping past his companion. Maxim says nothing. This way, the bot says, heading off down the corridor. How do you know which way to go? Maxim wonders. I gave the captain a tracking device. When he sees Maxim's face, Gabe adds, This was not the intended use, I assure you. I did not believe Xarrix or his client to be trustworthy, and was worried that the captain might be taken hostage or kidnapped to encourage the rest of us to comply. The engineering bot shrugs. I figured it was a worthwhile strategy. That's pretty sound logic, Maxim admits. He looks over at the tall bot. He's still going to be mad. Only if you tell him. Gabe glances down at Maxim, then increases his pace. By analyzing the data from the tracker, the captain spent most of his time aboard this vessel in a large chamber near the center. I believe that to be the throne room, as the captain called it. The device had passive sensors that mapped out the vessel as the captain moved through it. Wish I had a gun or my armor. Well, both, really, Maxim complains, holding his splinted arm up to look at it, where the spacesuit material is stretched over the bulky device. The suit is one of the emergency suits, similar to those Zephyr and Cynthia had worn, and provides next to no protection from weapons fire. It also has no built-in weapons. These smell really bad. I did not ask you to come with me, Gabe points out. I know, like I told Zephyr. You are crew, family. I know how upset you've been regarding that Flobbin's treatment of droids. Or I guess the treatment of droids in general, really. That is correct. Since my time aboard the Siege Perilous and being exposed to the existence of an entire civilization of machine intelligences, I have realized how truly horrible the treatment of cybernetic life forms within the GC is. Maxim is silent for a beat. Did any of this come up during your debrief with the Peacekeepers? It did. We are here. Gabe stops at a massive hatchway. My sensors indicate there are 5 beings on the other side. Maxim holds both hands out. No guns. Gabe raises both arms, which transform into pulse blasters. I have guns. Drin, yes you do. Maxim motions toward the door. Lead the way. Gabe lifts one leg and kicks the massive door, sending half of it flying inward, while the other half slouches to one side of its track. Without waiting for a reaction from inside, he levels his blasters and begins firing into the room as he enters. The Peacekeepers did not seem overly interested in my thoughts on the treatment of droids and other sentient intelligences throughout the GC, he offers, as if they're sitting in the lounge on the Ghost. Maxim ducks behind and follows him in. Under the part of the door that Gabe kicked is what looks like the remains of a body. What's left of an arm ending in a hand holding a pulse rifle. Maxim grabs the now ownerless weapon. I'm armed. That's rather disgusting. They just ignored your concerns. No need, and yes. The senior Centurion assured me he would bring my report to his superiors. I do not believe he did. Maxim looks up. In addition to whoever is under the remains of the door, 3 other guards are lying dead on the ground. Despicable. Jarella is sitting on her throne, mashing the control panel. I have taken the liberty of jamming all network connections to this room, Gabe informs her. Your network security measures are woefully inadequate. No help will be forthcoming. Where's Xarrix? Maxim asks.
You're here for him,
She grins.
By now that lowlife is boarding his ship, ready to depart. If you hurry, you can catch him.
Her sneer is infuriating.
I won't alert my warriors if you leave now.
I am not here for Xarrix. I am here for you, Duchess Jarella of Weirdlow III. You torture droids for pleasure. You disregard the sentience of others. Gabe strides up to stand before the throne, his arms transforming back into their standard configuration. His eyes, however, are still their combat mode red.
My what? My treatment of droids? Who cares about droids? I have my empire to worry about. Those creatures' tools, no different than droids.
She leans forward, now seeing the danger she's in.
My family built Weirdlow III from nothing, his kind.
She levels a finger at Maxim.
Left behind when they decided that my world wasn't worth their efforts or civilization.
She sits upright.
When the noble Galactic Commonwealth fled the Weirdlow system, they took their harvesters, their water purification factories, everything. I will lead my planet and my people into a glorious future of prosperity. If some droids are destroyed along the way, then so be it. If some nameless creatures have to live their lives serving Weirdlow III, so be it.
Gabe? Maxim says. From down the corridor, he can hear shouts. Cybernetic life forms are alive. Our makers build us that way, to better serve you. Gabe's eyes glow a brighter red. The would-be warlord sneers.
Yes, serve us at our pleasure. We purchase you, your control keys, ensure your obedience. We do with you what we want.
You are horrible, Gabe says. Uh-oh, Maxim murmurs, as Gabe's left arm begins to whir and click, switching back into blaster mode. The middle of his forearm shifting to allow a twin-barrel blaster to lift out. On behalf of all cybernetic life, I do this. I will, one at a time, if needed, remove the most violent oppressors from this galaxy, the bot says, raising his arm.
What? What are you? You can't harm me. Your program...
The rest is lost in the sound of a single blaster bolt knocking her back against her throne, a smoldering hole left in her chest. Another shot ensures that Jarella of Weirdlow III is well and truly dead, her dreams of empire building gone with her. Gabe turns to Maxim, his eyes returning to non-combat mode yellow. We can go now, he smiles lopsidedly. Maxim eyes his friend, as Gabe's weapon systems return to their standby locations in his forearms. You know we could have taken her to the GC Supreme Court. They'd have tried her for this. Gabe inclines his head. My way was more expedient. The ship rocks, and the lights dim for a moment. Will's voice cuts in on the comms. Guys, things are getting hairy out here, and the Berserker is wading into the middle of the battle. Probably a good idea to get out of there. Guess the captain of this boat isn't waiting for orders from his Duchess, Maxim observes. He spins to face the destroyed main door, firing as 2 armed creatures, both the same species as Jarella, enter, rifles drawn. Both fly back against the far wall of the corridor, smoking holes in their midsections. Time to go. Gabe nods. Acknowledged, Captain. We are almost ready. Be aware, Xarrix is or has already fled the Berserker. Turning to Maxim, he says, "We should get to the launch bay." Without warning, a klaxon sounds. "With haste." "Closure, I guess." "This ship is horribly designed," Maxim complains. Even with Gabe's enhanced sensors, they've had to double back twice when confronted with an inexplicable blockage in a corridor. "Indeed, whoever built this vessel was either a genius or insane. I am unsure which, but likely the latter," Gabe replies, guiding them through the maze of corridors, avoiding the massive battleship's crew whenever possible. "I am unfamiliar with the design. I should have asked Jarella who the shipbuilder was." Killing her won't have." The entire ship rumbles. The lights dim, then return. "Any impact on droid rights, or even likely their treatment on Wordlow 3, or this ship if it survives." Maxim ducks into a small maintenance closet behind Gabe. Two well-armed crew march past. One Holgen, one Sylban. The droid looks at his friend. "True, however, killing her will not have a negative impact on droids either. Plus, her own abuses of droids have now come to an end." He leads the way out of the maintenance closet that the two are hiding in. "We are almost there." As they exit, the overhead speakers erupt.
"They have killed the Duchess. Intruders are aboard. Find them, kill them. Vengeance for the Duchess. Long live Werdlow 3.
Maxim looks up. "Rather dramatic. We should hurry."
"The children are taking heavy losses,"
Zephyr reports.
"There are fewer than half the number that came back with us left."
The ghost narrowly dodges over the top of one of the smaller children, bringing its guns to bear on one of the captured behemoths. First destroying the single blaster cannon mounted on its dorsal section, then blowing several holes in it. Cynthia is nearly as good with the weapons as Maxim, rapidly dealing devastating blows on the enslaved beasts. Where did Jarella get enough people to crew all these ships? He wonders. On the main screen, two of the larger children are smashing a captured behemoth between their hulls. The Berserker is right in the middle of the fray, firing on the children while trying to fend off ramming attacks. "Something just left the Berserker," Zephyr says. "Looks like a small scout craft." "Heading?" Will asks. "Away from us." She looks over at Will, the question clear on her face. "Max, Gabe, what's going on? Is that you that just left the Berserker?"
"Negative, Captain. That must be Xarrix. We were too late to stop his departure,"
Gabe replies. "Go after him, Will," Maxim shouts. "We'll be okay." Will looks at Zephyr, her face a mask of concern. She looks up and nods. Will pushes the ship hard over, following the fleeing vessel. The flight deck of the massive Berserker is deserted, no doubt due to the ship being undermanned, having crewed every single captured behemoth. The enormous hangar doors are still open after Xarrix's departure, and rows of shuttles stand ready for passengers off to the side of the ample space. "Be careful over there," Will shouts, closing the channel. "Affirmative. We need to get control of this ship, help the children. Barring that, we need to destroy it." He looks at Gabe. "And ideally not die in the process."
Gabe nods. "Agreed. I must access the main computer core. Help me find a terminal. Someone has shut down the wireless network, no doubt hoping to hinder us. Someone on this ship is smarter than I gave them credit for."
Maxim looks around. "There," he points. In the corner of the hangar is a ladder up to the flight control booth. Maxim rushes to the ladder, just as Gabe takes flight, lifting effortlessly up. "Show off," Maxim mumbles under his breath. "Hail that thing," Will says, as the ghost closes in on the fleeing craft. It is clearly a modified scout vessel, as his sensors have identified several weapons emplacements. The Battle of the Behemoths is millions of miles behind them already. The fleeing craft is almost clear of the gravity well of Werdlow 3. Almost. Even damaged, the ghost is able to close the distance between them. The comm system beeps, and the main display changes, showing Xarrix in the cockpit of the small vessel.
"Well, human, you've cost me a fortune again."
"Icing on the cake," Will says through gritted teeth. "It was one thing when you hired us to rob and kill other criminals to grow your empire. It's another thing entirely to willingly aid in the murder and enslavement of a sentient species." not to mention standing by while that monster tortures droids.
My, you've certainly gotten a thicker noble streak since finding your little band of misfits, haven't you?
He looks Will in the eyes.
What is it you want? Return Lorath and her crew, and we can go about our lives. No retribution. I wouldn't frequent Fury, though, after this. Honestly, I expected trouble from that diminutive psychopath, Follick's soul, but I should have known better.
Oh, I'm definitely planning on reuniting you with your henchwoman. Xarrix looks over Will's shoulder to where he had become used to Cynthia sitting.
Got tired of the tiger and flobbing already?
From Maxim's station, Will can hear Cynthia growling. The tactical station is just out of range of video pickup. And you wonder why people don't like you, Will sneers, casting a glance at the tactical sub-display. The Ghost is almost in weapons range. The fleeing ship drops several missiles behind it like mines, forcing Will to maneuver around them. One explodes against the shields, and the Ghost loses speed momentarily.
What is it you want from me, human? An apology? More money? Some type of ransom for Lorath?
The small craft turns abruptly, bringing its weapons to bear on the Ghost, raking the forward shields with blaster fire. Will pushes the controls, dropping the Ghost below the oncoming fire. As the two ships pass, the Ghost's aft weapons stitch hot plasma across the lower shields of Xarrix's craft. On the screen, sparks shower the crime boss momentarily. Nice move. Speaking of Lorath, I'm sure she'd be touched you even considered paying a ransom, Will says.
Past tense? What have you done?
Xarrix is glaring now, his reptilian eyes narrowed to slits. The Ghost is back on a pursuit vector for the smaller craft. Xarrix is clearly pushing the engines beyond their tolerance range. Oh, Lorath is dead. Shot her myself. They're all dead. That crew you sent with her to take over my ship? Clever with that virus you planted, and the activation code in the payment data stick. When did you do that? When you installed the stealth systems, or before that, when you made repairs?
Dead?
Xarrix seems taken aback. As a Dornell, you'll be joining her soon. I'm not a religious person myself, but if there's an afterlife, you can chat with her for the details. It's a good story. Well, not from her end. Ends tragically and all that.
I will kill you, human. How dare you? After everything I've done for you,
Xarrix says in a tone of voice Will has never heard him use.
I swear to the gods, you will wish Langsham had never found you. You'll wish...
Bye, Xarrix. It's been fun knowing you. Well, that's a lie. It's been pretty crappy knowing you. But at least you can die knowing you did one thing. You brought this crew together. He nods once, knowing Cynthia is watching him, and will know what he means. She does, and from deep inside the ship comes the telltale sound of the missile launch system cycling, then firing 2 missiles, then 2 more. As the rockets streak their way towards the fleeing craft, plasma blasts leave the forward weapons, striking the shields, depleting them enough for the missiles to do their jobs. The small craft does its best to destroy the incoming ordnance, taking out 2 of the inbound missiles, but not the final 2.
You'll regret this,
Xarrix shouts, frantically working the controls of his small craft as sparks and smokes fill the screen, alongside more than one klaxon. I doubt it. Will smiles now, as the screen dissolves into static. Xarrix screams. Then the display switches to a view of the small, expanding debris cloud that used to be one of the most powerful gangsters in the Galactic Commonwealth. Will turns a full circle, looking at his 3 remaining crew. Let's go get our friends, he says.